Today I'm going to show you how to make a shepherd's pie. I'm going to show you how to make a basic shepherd's pie and what you can do to improve it, enhance the flavours in it. So we start off with about 500 grams of minced beef. Okay, once the butcher's minced the beef, it comes in long strands. So what I like to do is cut that up before I even put it into the pan, because I don't want big chunks of minced beef in here. I want my minced beef mixed up with the vegetables that I'm going to put in here. So I'm going to make a base sauce or a meat ragu sauce for the bottom and mashed potato for the top. I've already peeled and sliced my potatoes and put them on to boil. So I'm going to put that on a very, very low heat, because there is, although it's lean mince, there is still some fat in there, and I'm going to use the fat in the meat to cook it, so I'm not adding extra fat and therefore extra calories to it. While the mince is cooking slowly, I'm going to chop my onion very finely. So normal way, we cut the top off, get rid of the rubbish, bottom off, get rid of the rubbish, through the middle of the root, peel off the outside dried layers, off the board. Remember, rubbish is off the board, it's a chopping board, not a rubbish board. And then the root where it's joined together, you can see it holds together, that's what we chop into. So I want this really nice and fine, so about ½ centimetre from the end. I'm making cuts round, cut it nice and fine. It isn't how fast you do this, it's how accurate you do this. All the way round, and the onion is still held together. If you can't then chop any more because you're using the claw grip, transfer to the bridge so you can do it accurately. So your onion's still held together, but it's cut all the way around. Turn it to a right angle, and nice fine lines down. Make sure your nails are pointing downwards. We don't trim your nails, just use them to hold the onion and use them as a guide. You can see now that as I've been stirring it, the meat's broken up because I'd cut it up into smaller pieces. So we've got no big chunks of meat that are cooked on the outside and not in the middle. So there's some meat still isn't cooked. We need that to go brown. While that's happening, I'm going to add into it the chopped up onion. Now, you don't have to use onion if you've got shallots or leeks, you could use them instead. Or you could use them as well and use a mixture, so you're getting different levels of flavour. To give this shepherd's pie some more depth of flavour, I'm going to add some more vegetables into it. So I'm going to add some carrot and some celery. I'm going to grate those in so you don't get big chunks. If you don't mind chunks of vegetables, then you could just chop them into there, but I'm going to grate this. So peel and grate your carrot, wash and grate your celery. I've peeled my carrots and top and tailed them. I've washed and chopped my celery into pieces that are easy to handle. I'm going to grate them on the large holes. So just being careful that you don't grate your fingers when you're doing this, and I don't want great long pieces. If I did, I'd grate them that way. I don't. I want short bits of carrot and celery in mine. Right, whilst I've been grating those, the meat is now, because I've occasionally stirred it, has now cooked. You can see it's just cooked. The onions haven't browned. We don't want it to be too hot that the onions brown. And I'm going to put the other vegetables in there. So we've got grated celery and we've got grated carrot. Now, if you want to put any other veg in there, that's fine. Anyway, it's a good way of getting vegetables into dishes to bulk them out, so you can see how much more this mixture is now, because vegetables are cheap and they are really good for you. If you grate them, children won't know unless they see you putting them in. There's got vegetables in there, so you can get vegetables into children without them realising it, getting them used to the flavours and the tastes of them. Need some gravy now to make the sauce. So a lot of people use gravy granules now, which you could do, but the traditional way is to thicken it using flour. So the first thing we're going to do is put about a tablespoon of flour into the mixture. This is going to soak up all the fat that's in the bottom of the pan. And then when we add some stock to it, and you can add any flavour stock you like, that flour is going to gelatinise, it's going to expand and thicken the sauce. But any sauce at all you want to put in, you could even put a tin of tomatoes in. If you like tomatoes, you might want to put tomatoes into it. The liquid then goes in. So if you want to put a little bit of red wine in there, that's fine. You want to make it a little bit richer. I'm just going to use some stock that I've made up and put some herbs in. So a couple of stock cubes, and you put any flavour you like in. I'm not putting loads in. I don't want it to be a really runny mixture, but I need that flour to thicken. So you can see already it's thickening up. But I do want some gravy. I do like gravy in my shepherd's pie. So I've got all my vegetables in there now. So carrots, onions, celery. I've got meat in there. You can use any mince you want in this. So you could use, this is beef, so actually it's a cottage pie. You can use minced up lamb for a shepherd's pie. You could put minced turkey in there. Doesn't really matter. So the gravy's not quite thickened enough yet, and the vegetables haven't cooked enough for me. So I'm going to leave that to simmer for about 10 minutes before I put it into my dish. Right, once it's been simmering, you'll see that the sauce has really thickened up and that the vegetables are mainly cooked. You could eat them like this now. But it's going to be cooked again when it goes into the oven. So we need to transfer that into your baking dish. Make sure that you can get about a couple of centimetres of meat and your potato a couple of centimetres on the top. So no thinner than that. Right, this mixture could be used as a pie filling. It could be used as a pasty filling. Could be just put on jacket potatoes. Once you've drained your potatoes using a colander safely into the sink, put them back into the pan and let as much of the moisture evaporate as you can. So the first thing you're going to do is give them one mash. So you can see there's quite a lot of steam still coming off these potatoes. What we're trying to do is dry them out so that when we put into them some margarine or some butter, they are going to actually absorb that moisture and absorb that fat and flavour. So knob of butter into there. I've put some butter in there and I'm going to mash it again with just the butter in before I put any milk in. So each time you mash it, you're going to make sure that more and more of the lumps have disappeared. Because if we're going to pipe this, there don't need to be any lumps at all because it'll block the piping bag nozzle. I've already got a nice smooth mash, but it's quite stiff. It'll be far too hard to pipe. So I'm going to put some milk into it or some cream, be fine. Just to loosen it up slightly. Also it gives it a little bit more flavour. You could put this straight onto your pie, and if you did this you'd do little bits round the edge to start with. So you make a seal round the edge and fill into the middle very carefully so it doesn't sink into the middle. So one good reason why it's easy to put your base in and let it go cool and form a skin on first, or to get more marks and to make it look a bit more appetising, you can pipe it. So put all your mashed potato into a piping nozzle and then start to pipe. Use a big nozzle. Make sure you've folded your piping bag down so that you're not getting mashed potato all the way to the top. It's easier to work with. So get all the mashed potato, once you've re-rolled it back, all the mashed potato to the bottom of your piping bag. Give it a twist so none comes out. Now this might be quite warm in your hands, so you can either just do round the edge, and rosettes around the edge, or you can do bigger rosettes if you wish. It's up to you. It's your design, or you can just run up and down with the mashed potato. You need to fill in any little holes that you've got. Now, the mashed potato can stand well above the top of the dish, but your meat shouldn't come to the top. It'll come to the top anyway when it starts to heat up in the oven. So just fill any bits in with a little bit of a rosette. It'll look fine. Once you've finished, if you don't like the pattern, get the back of a fork and move it across the mashed potato. So there's a way of recovering it if you don't like your pattern. That needs to go then for about half an hour into a 180 degree fan oven.